in a second. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for this conversation. So I am John Stroud from AI Guides, and I'm joined by my colleague, Jen Schellinck. Say hi, Jen.
Hey, folks.
And today we are very happy to have as a guest Jordi Torras, the CEO and founder at Inbenta. Welcome, Jordi.
Well, thank you, John and Jen, for having me here. It's a big pleasure. Thank you.
And today we're going to talk about AI and customer service. So let's just jump right into that, Jen.
Great. Okay. So to get started, to help us get to know you and your company a bit better, can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, your background in artificial intelligence and also your company? And in particular, we'd love to know why you decided to call your company Inbenta.
That's absolutely. I can answer that question. So first of all, I'm from Barcelona. So it's a place with two official languages, which is Catalan and Spanish, as well as, of course, English is also a language used for business. So there's a lot of languages there. And it's a place where technologies around the natural language processing have been around. And then as per me, what I did was I had my major in computer science in the University of Barcelona. And I got specialized in artificial intelligence. And I'm talking about the 80s here. So it's a long, and when I was studying that, the field of artificial intelligence was already considered an old field. So it's been out there for a long time. So I've always been passionate about that. In my career, I had the opportunity to start other companies. I was as an entrepreneur, I was able to have some exits with these companies. So then is when I decided that it was time to have something or start a business around what I really feel passionate about, which is artificial intelligence, kind of connecting back to why I started in college. As per why the word Inbenta, well, as I said, I'm from Barcelona, and my mother tongue is this language called Catalan. Go figure. All right, there's like 10 million speakers in the world. One of them, and in our language, the sounds for B and V are the same. So and then the verb to invent something, when you are inventing, that is inventa, but it sounds the same. And because it sounds the same, it's very common to make a spell problem, right? And if you are a speaker of these languages, you would use a B when in reality it's a V, just because they sound the same. So it's a common mistake. So I thought, let's put a mistake in the name of a company as a way to signal that hey, it's not perfect. We are learning, and we're gonna start this journey on making computers just be smarter.
Yeah, natural language, right? It's not perfect, it's natural. So
exactly.
nice.
Also Inbenta.com was available at that time.
Yes.
So we happen to know that as the CEO, you answer customer questions every once in a while, because that's how we met. And so I'm curious, why is it important for you to spend time doing that?
Well, I love the field of no, and of course, and I like very much to not only to build a product that our customers can use, but also explore different ways that our product could be used. And typical use cases is for customer service, right? So our customers would have a number of intents or answers to the most typical questions. Users will go and ask similar questions by using different words. And what we want with our technology is match these questions with the right answer, right? But then there are many other use cases for these applications. And I like to spend time with customers and potential customers to see, okay, how our technology could be used for other cases. And you guys had an excellent example of that. And I hope that our conversations were fruitful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yep, it's very, very important to me to talk to customers and understand, which other ways we could use our technology. Sorry, Jen.
No, not at all. Not at all. I was just nodding in agreement. I will throw another question at you. So relating to that, getting to your customers and understanding what they need, because I know that Inbenta is all about interacting with customers, and it's what you call a conversational AI that gets human, but also that it's not just that it knows what people are saying, but it also gets and understands what they aren't saying. So I'm wondering if you could just give a kind of a nice example to help people understand what that means and why it's important.
Totally. So let's say you guys are running customer support division for an airline, right? So what you want is to make sure that when users call your call center, your contact center, they call for reasons that are not obvious, right, or repetitive. So that's why you have this content out there. And an example of that is like, okay, there's there's information about taking one of your planes with an animal, right, with my pet, or so you would have some content that says policy to travel with domestic animals, for example, right? So what you want is everybody that is concerned about that or asking how can I bring my animal, they will refer that. So then a random customer like me goes to your website and asks a question, hey, can I bring my Doberman in a plane? Right? If you look at that, what you said is policy to travel with domestic animals. And then what I'm saying is, can I bring my Doberman in a plane, right? So you are not saying that you want to bring a domestic animal, and yet that's exactly what you are saying. And most important is also that, and that's the reality. If you look at our customers, we have a lot of customers in the space of airline. You will usually see two different answers to that. So the system might say, well, I can help you with two things. One is, in general, traveling with domestic animals, but the other thing is traveling with a guide dog for blind people, right? And here we go is, well, you are asking, maybe your guide dog is a Doberman. Not typical, but it could be, is a dog, right?
You never know.
And maybe you have some vision impairment. I also don't know, because you are just typing or asking your question over the phone, right? So you will see our conversational AI. First, it will try to discern which of these two situations are, right? So it's like, okay, you want information about traveling with domestic animals, or you want to know our policy with a guide dog. And a guide dog is not a pet, or it's not only a pet, right? Is a lot more. So this is when the conversation starts. Conversation starts understanding that that a user, a person that needs help or is asking a question, the answer is not just an A or B or a number or some very piece of information. Usually, any system will require clarification questions, right? And here we go. You have a system. Typically, we call it Chatbot, right? The conversational AI is a glorified and way to say Chatbot. So the Chatbot will need to engage in a conversation and start saying, well, what kind of situation are you engaging? And probably that what you will have is that the conversational AI is not only able to answer questions, but to ask questions, ask questions intelligently with the context, questions that are needed. Of course, not ask questions that are not needed, because nobody wants that. And essentially, that conversation is what leads from one concern, question, problem into a solution, and therefore a happy customer. So that's what we call conversational AI. When the AI is not only able to understand one question and try to find the best answer, although also we have to do that, it's about intelligently figuring out which clarifying questions, which follow-up questions would be necessary in order to address the information. Now, what happens is in this dialogue, right, in this conversation, customers are also answering questions also in natural language. So you need to understand. So if you as a conversational AI, you ask a question, do you need XYZ? The customer might say yes, might say no, or the customer might say, I don't know, or I don't think so, or I don't remember. So all these potential answers need to be also understood by a conversational AI, and essentially being able to take from point A, which is I have a question, to point B, which is fully clarified. And not only that, and that's something that sometimes is overlooked, is we're talking about customer service, we're talking about corporations. Now, if you call an airline or your utility company or your phone company, you want stuff that they have to do sometimes, maybe create a new line, maybe remove a line. So, and in order for them to do that, they need their internal system, right? They need a billing system, a CRM system, an ERP. So there's a lot of systems. And the same way when you call a call center, the person who is talking to you is in front of a computer, right? There are no call centers where everybody's just on a table answering questions. Yeah. They are connected to something that is part of the corporate system. Same, if you want a conversational AI to be effective, they also need to be connected to the system, right? So it's not only about being smart at answering questions, it's actually being smart at give personalized information, being able to perform transactions with your back office system in order to access your CRM. So there's a lot, and the conversational AI intelligence is kind of the way these dialogues happen from the persons to the computers or the AI, but this AI as well has to speak. So with these other computers, sometimes built decades ago, that require integration, right? So a conversational AI I would say, is a conversation that happens with three parties. There's the person, there's the AI, and then there's the back office system. So that's why you need to, if you want to build an effective customer service that works, functions, and simulates intelligence, you have to have all these connections figure out.
Well, that's such a great point too, because it's not enough to have the front end, as you say. It's really got to get in there and integrate with everything. Absolutely.
Exactly. You can ask a chatbot, hey, how much money do I have? And the chatbot might answer, I totally understand your question. It's just I have no idea how much money you have.
Question.
Good question, boy. But in order to answer that question, I need to access your records. And that, of course, opens another interesting component that we have to deal all the time, which is security. How do I know that you are who you say you are? And we've been in this world where basically we have survived so far with username and password. Okay, now that's not enough. So we have these two annoying two-factor authentication. So there's this number that I might need to have a cell phone. And it's constantly evolving because the bad guys are also constantly evolving, right? And in some cases, the human intervention is just for security. I'm going to my bank, and I do this from time to time.
Yes.
Transfer funds from Europe and the United States, and at some point, the bank will call me just to make sure that it's still me. And the guy knows my voice. Like, okay, is it true that you want to transfer these euros or whatever? Just because he knows me. Now that can also be integrated. That also can be in conversational AI. But here we enter in other dimensions like biosignatures or the capacity to understand voice. We know yet now that many cell phones use face recognition, right? Which works beautifully, except when you have the COVID-19 mask, then it stops working. But But this is, AI gets all connected, right? If it comes to security, transactional, natural language processing. If you want a solid process, it requires, different ways to connect to different subsystems.
Absolutely. Awesome. Great. Okay. That was really helpful because it gives, I think, a really nice picture of the pieces. So John, I'm going to turn over to you for the next question.
So just picking up what you talked about of some of your clients at utilities or airlines. Now, when we talk about AI with some of our clients, sometimes we use it in the sense of thinking of the AI as like a team member. So you've got people plus AI on the team. And if you combine them, you're able to scale the impact of as compared to just people alone. So when you're thinking about a company like an airline or a utility, what jobs on the org chart could the chatbot do?
Good question. And that also sometimes is related to a sense that AI is something that will remove jobs, right? Or will destroy jobs. That's something that has been in discussion in public environments. There's as well, I think it was some initiative in the European Union to have some sort of tax for bots. They say people pay taxes, bots should also pay taxes, right? That's been a discussion. What I believe is technology is a tool. It's a tool that humans we have created. And if you look at how we have evolved, right, for essentially, apes running in front of a lion to what we are now, is by being smart and using tools. And when we learned that, hey, actually this four-legged big animal that we call horse can be very useful, that was a big jump. And now what we were doing, working on our fields or hunting, we have the speed and the strength, not of our own body, but of the body of a horse, which is good. And that basically increased our life expectation and the population a lot. And then, of course, the industrial revolution arrives here, right? When we say, well, now we can have these machines with a force, not of one horse, but hundreds of horses. Well, we still call the power unit is we call horsepower, even today, right? So now we are the industrial revolution basically said, hey, we can have even more power than what we were doing with animals. But what about our brain? And when we started using computers, that's interesting because the word computer is used to compute things, right? But if you go to France, or even in my language, computers are called ordinateur, which means sorter. Is a machine that puts things in order or sorts things, which is the primary use of computers at the beginning, is basically have information ordered so it's easy to find. So here we go. This is what the first search engines appeared, right? And that's when the technology has started being used to kind of empower our brains. And so we don't have to remember all these things. So, and now in this artificial intelligence is, okay, how can we have tools that can replace our brains, especially for all these activities that are boring? And I believe that's the beauty of artificial intelligence. It effectively can perform tasks that at this point only humans can perform, but activities that are boring, right? And once we have AI that has solved a particular problem, and we get used to it, and we don't call it AI anymore. And it's simply something that works. When I'm entering a parking lot, and there is this camera and recognizes my plate, right? And on my way back, he knows perfectly the time that I got in, because imagine having someone sitting in a chair just running the plate, right? It was like that before. And now we have machines that know that I'm a car, there's a plate, recognize the numbers. And that used to be artificial intelligence. That used to be called computer vision. Now it's everywhere. It just works. So we don't think in terms of artificial intelligence, but it was. So I believe that that's going to keep on growing, and we are going to start by a tool. If the tools, which for the human being are super important, the better and more sophisticated these tools are, the more elevated and sophisticated we get. So if we can get rid of the boring stuff, we can use our amazing and wonderful power brain to do a lot more. And there's no limit, known limit on how far the human intelligence can reach. So that's what I believe. I believe that AI is a tool to empower us, and certainly part of the team, and certainly part of like this guy who will take care of the boring stuff. We always want a guy like that. So that's AI.
Super.
Okay, so that's sort of the zooming in of how the chatbots are going to integrate with the team. If we think about the companies as a whole, I guess this is a question for you in terms of how people can work with your company, because I know that a lot of your clients are large international businesses, but that, at the other end of the spectrum, you do have some smaller clients as well. And we're just curious, when do you think it would make sense for companies to start to engage with you? And also, just to get really concrete, is there kind of a minimum price point that you would say this is the point at which it makes sense?
Yeah, and well, I'll talk for Inbenta, right? Other companies might have other business models, other ways to do that, but essentially, our typical use case for our AI and our space of natural language processing is to improve customer service and make sure that whoever is taking care of this customer service will be able to do other things. And sometimes our customers say, hey, we have this call center, this contact center, there's 40 people there. Some of them have been working there for a long time, and some others have moved away to other jobs because it's kind of boring in some cases, or part of it is kind of boring. And how could we free this personnel to do other things in the company, right? And if you are not in this situation, saying, hey, for customer service is basically me and my wife, let's say. How can I? And we are not that busy. Maybe call a week or something. That probably trying to add automation to that would not be, significant. They would say, well, yeah, anyways, I'm not gonna fire my husband anyway, so I have to.
Right.
Not because of AI. Right? So I'm sorry, I bought a chatbot. You're gone. I'm sorry.
Right.
That would be the first case of a chatbot replacing a husband in a marital status. But anyways. So that's the kind of the scale when you have starting to have companies, typically in the B2C space, when the folks dedicated to customer service start with multiples of several people, tens, dozens, hundreds of people, that is when you can measure better the advantage of that. If for really small businesses, our kind of AI, which is for customer service, natural language processes, might make less sense. It doesn't mean that artificial intelligence, more in general, or machine learning cannot be applied by a smaller business. Absolutely, yes. There are actually small companies that use machine learning for their business. Companies that couldn't exist today without machine learning. But in our case, we need a certain scale for our software to make sense.
Well, that makes sense, because it sounds like what you're saying is, if you're like, oh, I could really use these people somewhere else in my company, then when you start to have those questions.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah. I don't know, you have let's say a billing system, right? And so some system to automate billing, and then you say, hey, how many bills are you send every month? You say 1, sometimes none. Probably you don't need a billing system, right? So for the same reason, if you think about adding automation to your customer service by using AI, if you don't have the scale yet, probably you're not it's not the best usage of time and money to invest on that at that stage of the business.
That makes sense. Yeah. So that's the people side. So I'm going to hand it over to John to switch tacks here.
So for the companies that are over that threshold where it makes sense that there's a good business case to automate, how hard is it for them to get set up? Like, do you have to be a technical genius to use AI with Inbenta?
Well, absolutely not. And what we try to do is offer our AI, what we call out of the box. We offer intelligence out of the box. Now, many of the companies that use machine learning and for NLP and this kind of implement chatbots, many of them use a way of intelligence that we call brute force machine learning, which says, hey, Mr. Customer, thank you for buying our chatbot. You're entitled to create intents that's going to solve, let's say, problem number 1, problem number 2, and to all the problems that you want to solve. And then for every intent, you have to give me, please, training data, right? Training data is examples of user questions which reasonably should be answered with that intent. Some folks call these utterances. I'm not sure if I say that right. Utterances.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So, and because they use brute force machine learning, they said, well, I'm going to give data. I'm going to give a lot of data because I'm machine learning, which means that customers are forced to enter a lot of these examples to have some chatbot that is minimally intelligent, and that brings a lot of work. That's what we try to avoid with our technology. And what we say is like, hey, we bring not only the AI, which is not only the machine learning, which is the potential to be intelligent, but also a pre-trained lexicon or a dictionary, meaning, okay, if you have a call center and you hire a new call center agent, and you have that guy working today, let's say in Tokyo, and that person doesn't speak Japanese, like me, I'm going to be fired the same day because guess what? I'm going to be absolutely ineffective. And if what I have to do with this new guy is first teach the guy Japanese and then start being productive, is going to be a lot of investment. That's what happens with a lot of chatbot solutions out there. And they say, yeah, you have to give me training data, and it's a kind of a trap because it makes you work a lot for them, and we don't like that. We bring, let's say, an intelligence like, hey, yes, absolutely, I need to know your business and your intents, but give me a couple of examples, and I get it. It's like the Doberman question, right? So if your intent is a policy to travel with domestic animals, somebody comes and asks me the Doberman question, I know what the guy knows. I know that a Doberman is a dog and is an animal and is a domestic animal. All that is part of the world. So this common sense or knowledge of the world, that's what we bring together with our technology. It's not only the capacity to be intelligent, but the intelligence itself from day one. And then, of course, you need you get better over time, right? Because of machine learning. But at least the first day when you go live with your chatbot, doesn't look ridiculous, which is what happens sometimes with other chatbot. There are, obviously companies that have had bad experiences by believing, oh, I'm going to buy this technology, so it's going to be all nice and dandy, and then discover that the chatbot is not intelligent. And when they complain to the chatbot vendor, they say, well, you didn't enter enough training. Okay, how much training do you need? More. And that's always more. Which can be expensive, right? So it's not about being a technical genius; it's about understanding what is the investment. Now, back to your question about the technical genius. The way we have our solution deployed is kind of a no code, so you can use code of one line of JavaScript code on your page, and you are good to know. But then back to what I was saying, I think it was question number 3 is, hey, how can I connect my chatbot to my billing system, or my CRM, or my marketing system? That requires connections. And at least as of today, ending 2021, APIs have been invented. That's nice, but still requires some coding. So to answer your question is, set up a chatbot, easy. To have that chatbot fully connected to the systems, well, depends on what systems you have.
Makes sense.
It was a long
Great.
answer to a short question.
Yeah, no, that's a great, yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so final question for you. And this is a question that you asked us when we had the pleasure of talking to you on your podcast. So we wanted to return the favor and ask you this question, which is, looking ahead, what impact do you think AI will have on customer service? And what should companies be doing to prepare for this?
Absolutely. I can tell you first what my vision is, right, on how customer service will be. You will take your phone or whatever device is available in the future, and using FaceTime, WhatsApp, some other tool, you will contact your company, and you will see a person talking to you immediately. That person is going to be digital, so, and is going to have a face and all, but the whole thing is 100% digital. And you will talk to the person will answer back, and you can answer, you can ask all kinds of questions, and the person will be connected to the system, being smart, being quick, and being kind, and always available, to the point that you will need to ask, listen, are you a robot? Because you will not be sure if you are talking to a person or a digital presence, let's call it. And that digital presence should say, yes, laughing. Of course, I'm a chatbot, Danya. You know how smart I am. So yeah. This is if we look at that vision, how we operate like this with not only other organizations, but with governments, with local governments, with federal governments, and we could interact. We could call the IRS like that, and have someone who's answering immediately, who knows everything, who has answers, and he's or she's effective. We would prefer to talk to that entity, right, let's say, than waiting in line. Yep, you are the person number 36, and some more music, and then have someone that might be a little mean or tired or both, and then having difficulties anyway, right? So that, I think that's where we are going to go. But as you might imagine, we are far from that, right? There's this digital person, right? We have seen movies in 3D that are very impressive. Characters show emotions, but still, this for a second of that video, you need hours of computer, right, to generate only that. There are systems that recognize my voice, but not at that scale to immediately recognize me as if I was somebody's friend. It's just the friend knows millions of people, right? So, and then of course, natural language and the capability to talk, and not like now you call a callbot today, you wait 1 second or something, and then you get the answer back. And when the chatbot is starting answering, boy, you can't interrupt that. It's going to say, that's what I have to say, and you're going to listen. And this is not how humans communicate, right? So imagine if I describe that as a vision, then is kind of looking backwards. We know the kind of things that need to be happening, right? Of course, better natural language processing, voice recognition, but also recognition of people, identification by voice, emotions, giving these emotions back. All that is possible in theory. I mean, we have today we have screens and microphones and headsets, so that's not impossible. It's just that if what I just described is the step number 100, maybe now we are step number 5, let's say. So there's still a long journey before we get to that point. But the entire industry, and of course Inbenta in particular, is trying to say, okay, in this journey that we see, how can we make to develop the next step and go working into that direction.
Well, yeah, and what you're describing is a very clear goal that people are kind of charging.
Exactly, everybody wants that, and there's Alexa and Siri and all that, right? And it's a we call it a nice try. And the thing is, it is useful. For me, when Siri showed up, it's like, that's a terrible idea. But I'm just that's not true. And I see my daughter doing her math homework, she would go, Siri, how much is 200 times 15? It's like, which is, at least use a calculator. And when I was a boy, my dad would say,
we had to push
why
buttons.
are you using a calculator? Don't you know how to do that? And now I'm just using, why don't you use a calculator? And no, she's like asking Siri in natural language. So I guess, boy, that's so imagine what my daughter.
What she's going to say to her daughter.
Exactly.
Don't get your virtual agent to do your homework. At least ask Siri.
Exactly.
That's right.
Can you ask Siri? That's right.
So thank you so much, Jordi, for taking the time to have this conversation. We really appreciate it. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
Oh, totally. Well, there is Inbenta.com with Inbenta with a B as a boy, right? I think that's
covered that.
Yes. And then if you look for Jordi Torras and Inbenta in LinkedIn, you will find me. I try to catch up and attend connections, so I'm totally reachable out there. The only thing I request over LinkedIn is whoever wants to contact me have a picture. That's the only thing I require. That's my only requirement.
That's fair.
Okay. I saw your post in the last couple of days where you got it was the same picture but for multiple names.
Oh yes. I'm trying
whoever
to
that is.
Pay attention to LinkedIn, but not aim to
to
shoot any critics to any company at all. But it is true that when you have two people, different names inviting you with the same picture, it's like one is a copy. Maybe both are a copy. I don't know. So maybe now we know now, right, that there are, because of AI, we have these applications that generate human faces that really don't exist. They're not of any particular person. So maybe that's the first step into this AI that one day is gonna answer our phone with nobody's face but a face, right? So maybe John, that's right. I require a picture, but if at the same time you send with the same picture to invite, I don't know what to do. That's for sure.
Not that. Okay. And anything else that you wanted to add? No,
just thank you again for your time. I think what you guys are doing at AI Guides is immense. It's a confusing space. I know everybody in the industry tries to grow and sell more, and sometimes there is a little bit of hype in some of the claims. So it's hard for companies to take decisions on what are the best tools. So companies like AI Guides and that help corporations through this journey are amazing.
Well, thanks very much for taking time. We really appreciate it, and let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thank
Cheers,
you, John, Jen. Bye. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye-bye.